Good morning. In this episode of the Sneaker Principal podcast, I want to talk to you about the mental health crisis happening amongst educators. It doesn't matter if you're a teacher, support staff, administrator. We're going through a mental health crisis right now in this country amongst educators. But we also do know this is amongst everyone, regardless of your role or what industry you're in. But I am an educator, so I want to talk about what's going on with educators. Let's be honest here. Things have been intense for a very long time. Coming out of the pandemic, a lot of resources was poured into our students, our school families, the overall school communities. But very little was done for us educators. Those of us who had to hold it down through the pandemic, those of us who left our families at home to make sure we were taking care of other families. And we are in a place now, people are literally just walking away. They've been doing this for a while, but now there are people who are at their wits' end, who are just like, I can't do this anymore. Those who are literally teaching, working in silence. As an administrator, I see this every day. Those who break down in my office in tears, and those who were never ever absent, who are now calling out consistently because they're just trying to find a way to ease the pain. While we hold it down for everyone else, who's holding it down for us? One of my favorite documentaries is titled Waiting for Superman. And it's interesting because in that title, you'll find the way we are trained as educators. We're trained as though we are superheroes, that we are walking into a profession in which we get to exercise superpowers. We're saving lives, we're saving children. In all essence, we're saving communities. But the issue with that is that belief has led to all of us, in some degree, some capacity, as educators, to really believe that we have to give everything of us to the work. How many of you have ever woken up in the middle of the night thinking it was 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever your typical wake up time is, and you're getting up, heart racing, not knowing where you are, believing that you're late? That's anxiety. That is the level of stress where your body and your mind, I would even say your spirit, is completely out of whack. A lot of us feel like we're in a hamster wheel. We're just going and going and going and going with no relief. The question is, how do we get off that hamster wheel? How do we find homeostasis, that place of balance? There is a cost to ignoring your mental health. It's not just what happens internally, but also about what happens externally. What do I mean by that? The things that we don't correct internally, the things that we ignore, the things that we just fight through to try to maintain some sense of normalcy, will impact and wreck everything else in our lives. How many people, how many of you have lost marriages, friendships? How many educators don't even talk to your own children? You've given years and years of your life to your school, to other children, but now your own children, who are now grown, maybe teenagers, see you as a stranger. They don't know how to connect to you. Or even in a lot of cases, they believe that you care about other kids, those other children, more than you care about them. What does that do to you? How does that impact you? How many of you came into the profession joyful, optimistic, and now it's just a job? You're counting the days down to when you can walk away. But for some of you, walking away is so far down the line. Retirement is something that's so far down in the distance. And you're thinking, I'd rather just do something else. That doesn't make for good teachers. It doesn't make for good school leaders. It doesn't make for happy people. And I really believe the school building should be a place of joy. How many of you have lost your joy? I want to share with you 3 strategies to help with you finding your way back to center. The first one is establish boundaries. Learn to say no. I tell my staff for years that what we do is not a job. It is work. Our life's work, because we are directly impacting the world. Unfortunately, that belief grounds us in this belief that we are superheroes, and we are not. We have to learn to say no. We have to learn to set boundaries. Going home and turning your phone off. Better yet, I know we live in a world in which turning your phone off is not always an option. But turn off the notifications for your emails or your text messages. Because what happens, you hear that ring or that buzz, all of a sudden, like a addicted person, you reach up for that phone and you have to see who it is, see what it is. The reality is, once you are disconnected from work, whatever that thing is can wait. Allow yourself to really be grounded in your own peace of mind. The other thing is this: I hear people say, hey, since I've been in this profession, I've gained so much weight. I'm not healthy. I'm going through so many medical issues. The reason for that most of the time is that you have not made yourself a priority. The things that you were doing or that you've done in the past that's giving you optimal health should not change. My mother tells me this all the time. God bless her heart, at 70, she looks like she's barely in her early 40s. If you don't take care of yourself, who will? You have to take care of yourself so you can take care of others. If you're not here, the people that you want to take care of cannot take care of themselves. In these 3 ideas, these 3 belief systems, self-care is compulsory. So what are you doing every day just for you? I'm not just talking about going to the gym. Those of you who know me know that I have the no days off mentality and principle that I live by. But I'm not talking about just working out. What is that one thing that grounds you? That one thing that gives you joy, that isolates you from everything else, that allows you clarity? Figure that thing out and do it every day. Number 2, I've said this before in previous videos. Find your tribe. Who do you talk to? When things are at their worst, or even when things are starting to simmer. Or it could just be warm thoughts that indicate that something is not right. Who do you talk to? Find your tribe. Or even better yet, find tribes I have tribes for everything. I have my tribes that are grounded in my creativity. Those that I talk to about things like this, creating videos, my ideas. I have tribes that are just grounded purely in my leadership. What do I do here? How do I handle this? What is the best decision to make here? What have you done? Then I also have tribes, that tribe in which I have brothers and sisters that I can go to and say, hey, things are not good right now. I'm struggling. Or even in reverse, they come to me and say, hey, can we talk? People often say that leadership is the loneliest place. That's not true. When we're going through things and we don't talk about it, that's a very lonely place. Find your tribe. Find that place you can go to. But also, you might need more than just a tribe. You might need a therapist. There's nothing wrong with that. Just make sure you have a place you can go to release, to reflect, to rebuild. And that place should be people who are willing to talk you through, to help carry that burden. And lastly, prioritize self-care. I'm tapping back to the first one, but establishing boundaries. In establishing boundaries, one of the things you have to protect is your self-care. One more time, what are you doing for yourself? You need to lose 10 pounds? What are you going to do about it? Prioritize that. You have these aches and pains? Go see your doctor. Something feels off? Go get blood work done. Handle your annual physicals. Prioritize your self-care. Unfortunately, we live in a world in which retirement is the end goal. Sadly enough, a lot of people barely see a decade after retirement, if even half a decade. If retirement is 65, and they say that the average American male lives into his early 70s, and women barely past another 2 or 3 years from retirement at a typical age of 65, that gives you 5 more years, 7 more years. What is that? So we work all our lives just to get to a few steps before we die. Absolutely not. Prioritize yourself. Prioritize your health. We're going to get old. Let me change something, take that back. No. We're going to get older, but we don't have to get old. Before I wrap it up, remember, we need to change the narrative around mental health and education. We are not superheroes. We're human beings, and we're going through what we go through as human beings. It's important that there is more work done to ensure that educators, our teachers, those who work in schools, of course, everyone in society, but again, I say I'm an educator, and I need to make sure that my people are good. Those who commit their lives to the classroom, those who commit their lives to ensuring that the future generations are equipped to lead when it's their time. But we can't do that if we are struggling with our mental health, if we're struggling with our emotional disabilities. So I ask you to make the right choices and moves to ensure that you're the best that you can be. But even more so, I ask the system. I'll ask those who are in power to not just focus on the social emotional health of children. Do more to make sure that our teachers are good. Do more to ensure that our school leaders are good. Because I'll tell you right now, The smallest population in our field are school leaders, and the vast majority are not doing well. They're struggling, and we depend on them. You depend on us to hold it down, to ensure that our schools are thriving. But if you're struggling, how do you thrive? If you can't thrive as an individual, how do you create a space in which everyone else is thriving? Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Sneaker Principle Podcast. I ask you to do one thing. If any of this resonated with you, let's talk about it. Go into the comments, share your story, share your ideas, share the things that have worked for you. Because I guarantee you someone's listening, someone's watching this and saying, wow, I need to do some work to ensure that I am better. Remember, you cannot do this alone. And if you don't have that tribe, let's start one right here. Let's start one in the comment sections. Have an amazing day, and we'll talk soon. Be well.